The Chicago Blackhawks fall 3-1 to the Detroit Red Wings in the first home preseason game of the year. I was in attendance. I went with my friend Justin Lynch from Chicago Hockey Radio, Mr. B-Hawks memes. And of course, the game we go to is easily the worst preseason game yet. It stunk. I'm going to start with the negatives just because there were a few. It was only 3-1. It felt worse. It felt significantly worse. The Blackhawks could not do anything offensively all game long. It felt it was just too many cute passes, not shooting the puck enough straight up. Just shoot the puck. Restless United Center going 2 whole periods without a goal. Colton Doc finally scores in the third. Before I get to Colton Doc, though, I want to start with the power play because it was absolutely atrocious. It was 0 for 6. Too much passing. I mean, the first couple power plays, the first unit could not get anything set up. It was ugly. It was sloppy. The passing was absolutely brutal. They couldn't even get the puck into the zone, let alone start cycling it, let alone getting any good looks. Couldn't get into the zone, struggled. And then the second unit on the first 2 power plays genuinely looked better than the first unit. The second unit was Justin's called it Donato and Friends, I believe is what he was calling. Yeah, he was calling the second unit Donato and Friends because it was like Mikheyev and Foligno and Burkovski. It was an ugly unit, but they were actually getting the puck set up in the offensive zone, had a couple looks, but weren't able to score. I mean, they were normally using like 45 seconds max because the first unit would stay out there for a decent amount of time, so they couldn't really get much going. But then the final like 2 or 3 power plays, it started to look really good from the first unit. They were getting the puck set up. I love Frank Nazar on that first unit. I think he's going to help out a lot with zone entries, and I think he's just good net front. He's fantastic at winning pucks back. Like when the puck goes behind the net and there's a little battle, it feels like Frank Nazar's coming up with those pucks every single time. And so I think he has to stay on that first unit. It's just these guys are going to need more time together before this thing clicks, I think, because it was always like they were trying to make one more pass than they needed to. And that final pass that you kind of just needed to be on the tape so that you could shoot quickly, have a one-timer, whatever, a snapshot. And it felt like that final pass was always in the skates, was never in the wheelhouse. And so they just weren't able to convert. The last 3 power plays were not the same as the first 3. Like they definitely started to get something going. They just couldn't convert on any of the chances. Not really much more to say other than that. They just got to clean it up and convert on some chances. It was frustrating. The fans in the building were getting restless. You know, by the 6th power play, it was like, geez, here we go again. Just whiffing on one-timers, falling over. It was just not the power plays night tonight whatsoever. I'm not going to overreact to it. They just got to clean it up a bit and work on it. I do not want to see personnel change. I think that first unit is exactly what should be the first unit on the power play with Bertuzzi net front, Nazar in the slot, Teravainen and Bedard on the half walls, and Rinzel at the point. I think that is the correct power play formation. They just need more time together, and they need to convert on opportunities. Simple as that. Again, not going to overreact. I do want to start talking about some players individually. I'm going to start with Colton Doc. After his first preseason game, I was like, I don't even know if this guy's an NHL player. Just the hands were not there. He was losing the puck, turning it over, was not being very impactful. I think that was a big wake-up call for him because of how critical I was. I would imagine that's kind of how critical the coaching staff and the organization was, and he has absolutely brought it since then. That St. Louis game where he makes the massive hit, which led to the Oliver Moore game-winning goal. That was and the fight. Really, Colton Doc basically won that St. Louis game by himself, if we're being honest, how impactful he was. And then tonight, same thing. Look, the first two periods were really rough for the Chicago Blackhawks, but every single time Colton Doc was on the ice, I was noticing him and saying something to Justin about him because, look, the kid only played just over 13 minutes tonight, but it felt like every single time he was out there, he was being impactful, whether it was in his own zone, winning the puck, getting it out, or whether it was in the offensive zone, getting pucks on net, crashing the net. And he even had a couple plays where he was setting guys up. I thought he could have had an assist or two tonight, besides the phenomenal goal that he scored. Absolutely dog walking. Who was that? Who did he absolutely? Albert Johansson. Yeah. Enjoy the A, buddy. Colton Doc is your father. It was a sweet goal and honestly saved the vibes from the night. Heading into that third period down 3-0, I was like, I've seen enough. Call the season. Being a little overdramatic, maybe just slightly overdramatic. But me and Justin were saying, please just give us one. We know they're not coming back in this one. Just get us a goal. And Colton Doc delivered, and I think secured himself a roster spot on the Chicago Blackhawks. If there were any doubts heading into this game, whether or not Colton Doc should be in the starting lineup on game one, or if he should be an extra, or if he should be in Rockford, I think those questions were answered tonight. I think Colton Doc has to be in the bottom six for the Chicago Blackhawks to start the year. He's really impressed as these preseason games have gone on, and I hope he can have a healthy season and really see what he can do, because even in these games where he's not playing a whole lot of minutes, he's still finding a way to impact the game. I thought he was going to drop the gloves tonight too. He got pretty close at one point. So big A+ from Colton Doc. Love what he's brought in these past couple games. We need to see it now in the regular season. Good job, Colton Doc. Andre Burkovski is another guy that I've been kind of critical about through his first, I think he's actually only played one preseason game, and he didn't impress. Tonight, it looked like he completely found his legs. He was flying all over the ice. He should have scored. Levshinov had a nice little feed to him where he got in, and then he kind of just blew a tire right when he took the shot. But also another guy that probably could have had an assist or two tonight. I think he set up Bedard for a 1-T that didn't find the back of the net. Oh, yeah. He set up Bedard for a sick one-timer that Talbot made an disgust. I don't know how it was, and it was literally, I was sitting right behind the net. The shot was so quick from Bedard. I have no clue how Talbot made the save, but it was a sick glove save. I think that was in the second period, but that was just kind of how the night went for Bedard. But Andre Burakovsky, I owe you an apology. I was not familiar with your game. If he's going to be skating and working like that all season long, I'm okay with him playing on the first line, and it makes sense why they brought him in at that cap hit. I also want to talk about Frank Nazar. I don't think I'm going to make a single post game this entire year without talking about Frank Nazar. He is my favorite player on the Chicago Blackhawks, and tonight he was the best player on the Chicago Blackhawks. Every time he's out there, he's impactful. That line with him, Bertuzzi, and Teravainen are starting to build real chemistry. I think we're probably going to be seeing them. I think that's going to be the line that sticks together more than any other combination in the forward group all year long, just because I think they balance each other out so well. They play well together, and they had a really strong first period in what was other than them a really boring, uninspiring, slow, sloppy first period from the Chicago Blackhawks. They were a bright spot, and I think this Blackhawks team is going to be leaning on that group heavily as the year goes on, just because I can totally see every single line, getting mishmashed in revolving doors of different guys coming up from Rockford, guys getting healthy scratched. I think there's going to be a lot of turnover up and down the lineup, but I do think that second line is probably going to be a constant, and so I think the team will rely on them in a lot of games to get something going. Like on nights like these where it just feels like nothing's falling for you offensively, That's going to be the line that kind of energizes you, that gets that good sustained pressure in the O zone, that just puts in a solid shift, gets off the ice, and then allows another line to come in with some more offensive pressure. So A plus from not A plus from that line. A plus from Frank Nazar. I thought he was great in both ends. Just getting to see him in person on the penalty kill. He does so much work with his stick that I don't think you really catch watching him on TV. He's really good at intercepting passes, batting pucks down out of the air, and it feels like he can create offense from anywhere in the offensive zone. He's always looking for the pass. He's got great vision, and he's got a great shot too. So I think Frank Nazar is going to have some serious production this year. I really do. Let's see. Anybody else in the forward group? Oliver Moore, he only played 12 and a half minutes. He wasn't super inspiring. He was a -1. I think he was on the ice for the Brandstad Nygaard goal. And that play was look, anytime you see a guy wide open in the slot, you're kind of scratching your heads. I don't know if that was Oliver Moore's assignment or Ilya Mikheyev. If you go back and watch that goal, one of those two need to be on that guy wide open in the slot, and they weren't. But Oliver Moore had an opportunity at a 2-on-1 where he just uses blazing speed, and look, he's going to find opportunities for himself like that all the time just because of how fast he is. He just needs to get better with the decision making. I think he's just got to be a little more confident whether you're going to shoot or pass. Just make a decision and stick with it. But I do think that Oliver Moore at this point, I'm just guessing. It's not what I want, but I'm just telling you now. I think Oliver Moore is going to start in Rockford. I could see Ryan Green starting on the Blackhawks as the fourth line center, and Oliver Moore being the guy that goes down to Rockford. Even though Ryan Green only played 7.5 minutes tonight, he's a NHL coach's wet dream. Can we be honest? He's not really noticeable. He never tries to make cute plays in the neutral zone. He just dumps it in, always makes the smart, safe play, and he's been absolutely fantastic from the face-off dot. So for that reason, I think he's going to be the guy that you're probably going to see in that 4C role with Jason Dickinson as the 3C. And then Bedsy and Nazar as the 1 and 2 centers. That's kind of how I see the lineup shaping up now at this point, and that's okay. You know, Oliver Moore is going to be, it's going to be like a Frank Nazar trajectory. Like, I think he's going to start the year in Rockford and then quickly get called up and then probably not return to Rockford. So no tweak. There isn't any rush. You know, you've got enough bodies now. You got enough young bodies up at the NHL roster where it's not like you need Oliver Moore to get bums in seats or anything like that. It's just how I kind of see things going. Defensively, I thought Ethan Del Mastro had another rough game. I talked about in the State of the Union address how it was kind of perceived that that third pair left shot spot was going to be Del Mastro's heading into camp, but he just hasn't earned it. He hasn't grabbed a hold of it, and none of those guys have. Allen, Korchinski, Del Mastro, none of them have really seized the opportunity like you hoped one of them would. Del Mastro just turning the puck over, making poor decisions tonight. I think Matt Grzelcyk's going to get signed, man. I really do think Matt Grzelcyk is going to get signed. They played him on the first pair tonight with Renzel, and that should tell you everything you need to know. I think Matt Grzelcyk's going to get signed, and they're going to let Del Mastro, Allen, and Korchinski keep battling it out in Rockford, because I think Lou Crevier is going to be the seventh defenseman, and he's a right shot guy. So I think those guys all are going to start the year in Rockford, to be honest with you, which is crazy, because if you told me like a month and a half ago, I would have been like, Matt Grzelcyk? What team does that guy even play for? It's going to be Del Mastro or Allen or Korchinski, and it's going to be none of them, which I'm not pumped about, but that's just kind of the way the cookie is crumbled, and it's whatever. Wyatt Kaiser, he had one bad turnover, but other than that, I thought he had a really solid game. He just feels, with all these young defensemen playing, you have these nervous moments with them. It feels like every other shift where you're like, oh, please don't turn the puck over here. Oh, don't pinch there. feels like Wyatt Kaiser doesn't make those poor decisions as much as any of these younger guys. He's so solid. He's a super clean skater, and I'll keep harping on him. I'll glaze Wyatt Kaiser in every single video I make. I'm really high on him. I think he's going to be a very solid NHL defenseman, and so I thought he had a solid game tonight. Sam Rinzel played 26 minutes. I mean, not surprising. They were on the power play for 12 minutes. They were on the power play for a third of the game. Sam Rinzel played 26 minutes and wasn't great. He wasn't great. It doesn't help that the power play was not able to score, so he has a -1 next to his name. He got absolutely walked, absolutely destroyed on that third Detroit goal, the Raymond goal. I think it was Berggren. How do you pronounce his name? You guys know who I'm talking about. Berggren just completely pulled his pants down and spanked him, and then passed the puck over to Lucas Raymond for the yawning cage. Bad play from Rinzel. He was just a little sloppy tonight, but he still showed all the intent. He showed the speed, the skating, the passing, that it's like, this kid's going to be an absolute stud. It was just not his night. It was a poor night from him. So I'm not going to really worry too much about it. I think all the other defensemen, Artem Levshinov did not have a good game whatsoever. I thought he turned the puck over several times. There was a moment in the second period, again, on a power play where you're just like, no, don't pinch there. And then he does it. And then all of a sudden the other team, Detroit tonight, is going the other way with an odd man rush. He's just got to get better with the decision making, and he's going to learn it on the job, because Artem Levshinov, someone commented on my video from yesterday, the State of the Union address. Somebody commented about how Artem Levshinov needs to go back to Rockford and is probably going to go back to Rockford and spend more time in the A. It's not happening. Artem Levshinov is penciled in. It's set in stone. Artem Levshinov is going to be the second pairing right shot defenseman on the Chicago Blackhawks. He's learning on the job. He's not having any more time in the A to develop. I don't know if you guys are familiar with how thin the Chicago Blackhawks are, kind of on that right side. It's those three. It's Murphy, Rinzel, Levshinov, and then Louis Crevier. That's it. So you're going to be seeing a lot of Artem Levshinov this year, and he's just going to have to get better with the decision making. And just developing in the NHL, which, I understand that the NHL is not a development league, but it is getting increasingly younger. So I think he'll be just fine, especially since he's going to be glued to Wyatt Kaiser, who is kind of just going through that process last year. I think that's a good guy for him to play alongside of. So, it's not doom and gloom. I was being a little facetious on my Instagram story and on Twitter, saying that the season's already over. It was just not how you wanted to perform the first game on the United Center ice. I will say that the center logo with the Centennial 100 thing looks cool. The upper bowl they weren't selling tickets to the upper bowl, so I think that was a good idea. Pack everybody into the 200 and 100 levels. It was fun. It was fun to be there with Justin. Shout out B-Hawks Memes. Shout out Chicago Hockey Radio. And shout out Frank Nazar, Colton Doc, and OT The Real. He's my favorite rapper right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you within the next couple days for another video. Please subscribe if you have not. Like this video if you thought I made at least one good point. And I will see you in the next one. Peace out.